May is Older Americans Month, and we have lots to offer. Check out our calendar on QPL's website for upcoming older adult programs, including Zumba, creative aging workshops, book discussions, and more. Our mail-a-book service also offers homebound customers the convenience of having library materials delivered to their door free of charge. For more information, visit queenslib.org/MAB22. It's Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and we're excited to celebrate AAPI contributions to our nation's history and culture. Check out our book list for adults, young adults, and children. Join us for our virtual and in-person programs and more. Get access to free, unlimited internet at home with the Queen's Connected Mobile Hotspot Lending Program. Wi-Fi hotspots are available for you to borrow from several Queens Public Library locations. For eligibility requirements and participating library locations, visit queenslib.org/hotspot22. Our website calendar is the perfect tool to find activities for all ages, adults, teens, and children. You can find programs at your local library or online. Visit the QPL calendar at queenslibrary.org. Looking for things to do at Queens Public Library? We've compiled 125 of them. Pick up a booklet at your nearest library location or view the list online at queenslib.org/things to do. Share your journey with us on social media using the hashtag QPL125, and you will be automatically entered into a drawing for a free Queens Public Library tote bag.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Queens Public Library. This is our first Wellness Wednesday session for 2022. And we are so happy today to have Dr. Naika, and I want to tell you a little bit about her. Dr. Naika is a trailblazing naturopathic practitioner, acupuncturist, and herbalist based in New York City. Dr. Naika received her bachelor's degree in cultural anthropology from Brown University and both her master's of acupuncture and doctorate of naturopathic medicine degrees from Bastyr University. Dr. Naika runs a private practice where she offers mindfulness-based, whole person-centered, culturally sensitive, and approachable integrative healthcare. Dr. Naika's holistic approach. And I'm very excited to have you guys here. Dr. Naika, take it away.
Hello, everybody. And thank you so much, Tracy, for your introduction. Thank you to the Queens Public Library for having me. And thank you all for being here with me, spending your lunch hour with me. We're going to have a good time today talking about holistic wellness. As Tracy mentioned, I'm a naturopathic doctor, acupuncturist, and herbalist based in New York City. And I love doing workshops like these. I love connecting with you all. And on that note, I'd love for you all to engage with the chat box. Although I won't be able to see your comments as they come in, we are going to have a Q&A section at the very end of the talk. So I'm going to try and answer as many of your questions as possible. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so welcome to the first Wellness Wednesday. We have 3 programs coming up for you. Today, I really wanted to focus on building foundations for health, like really kind of going back to basics and approaching health and healing holistically. So, this is workshop 1. In workshop 2, which is 2 weeks from now, I'm going to focus on fun DIY herbal recipes for head to toe healing. So these are my top favorite recipes that I really feel will support you all on your healing journey, and it's going to be a ton of fun. And then the third and final workshop is on June 15th, and it is about experiential mindfulness. So definitely come prepared to that workshop to do a lot of breath work and meditation. We're going to talk about mental and emotional health and your nervous system and explore different practices that you could use at home to regulate all of that. So the workshop content today is divided into 4 primary sections. So we're going to talk about the holistic approach to healing. Then we're going to move on and talk about whole person nutrition and digestion. Then we're going to talk about sleep hygiene and sleep support tips. And then we're going to finish it off with immune support and detoxification. And then a Q&A at the very end. So once again, get your questions ready for me. I'm so excited to engage with you all. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's start off with the definition of holistic. What is it? We hear it all the time. Is it mind, body, spirit, mind, body, soul? I don't know. Is it all about herbs and remedies or nutrition and acupuncture? Is it about those beautiful lay traditions that, have been passed down to you from maybe your parents or grandparents? What is it? I'm a big fan of Marianne Williamson's work. And the other day she was talking about how holistic healing has gone through so many different iterations over the years. At first it was alternative. Then it became more mainstream and became complementary. And now it's kind of landed in the space of being integrative, which is how I personally like to think about it. And so the question of what is holistic healing as it pertains to this list, I would say it is any and all of these definitions. And I think the way holistic is spelled is super interesting because it's HOL, right? But I think of it as wholeness, so WHOL. So whole person, whole systems healing that really addresses your healing journey from the inside out. So the next couple of slides are these cool graphics of different manifestations of holistic healing. And I'm really curious about which elements resonate the most with you, because I think these are absolutely fascinating. So when you think about wellness, we often think about the physical body, but it's about so much more than that. As this chart suggests, it's about social wellness. So what is your sense of connection like? What's your sense of community like? One graphic that I came across that I didn't include in this workshop actually had social cultural wellness, which I thought was absolutely fascinating and beautiful. And it got me thinking about my own family's immigration history and how, having close ties to your cultural practices and being in community with people who understand you is a really important form of wellness too. So I thought that was really cool. There's emotional wellness. So how in tune are you with your emotions? Do you let yourself feel? Do you feel emotionally intelligent and mature? Can you communicate how you feel? Then there's spiritual wellness. What is your connection to your higher self or the meaning of life, or maybe your divine guides or your religion or your spiritual practice? And I thought this one was fascinating, intellectual wellness. I had never heard of that before, but sort of what stimulates you, what helps you to expand your knowledge and your understanding of the world and of yourself. Then there's physical wellness, which I think we all think about at first when we talk about health and healing, excuse me. So what does your body need? What are the foundational blocks that you could support your body with? So diet, nutrition, movement, etc. Then I love that they put environmental wellness here, not only because, environmental health is such a big topic right now in our generation, but also how do you connect with the environment? Do you spend enough time in nature? What is your relationship to water, to plants, to other living creatures? How do you take care of the earth as the earth takes care of you? Love, love, love that they put financial wellness in here. I'd probably go a little bit more beyond the scope of, defining it in regards to your connection to financial institutions. I would think about it more so as, what is your relationship to an abundance mindset or a scarcity mindset? What is your relationship to your money? What are your spending habits like? Do you feel worthy of spending money on yourself? Do you contribute to charity and to society? Do you make investments and make your money work for you as opposed to only working for your money, etc.? And then there's occupational wellness, which I'd probably expand to include academic wellness as well for all of the students that are on here. So what is your satisfaction with your work and academic environment? Do you feel inspired by the work that you do and by your colleagues and classmates? So I thought that this was a really cool lens of healing. To go a little bit further, I love this graphic for talking a bit more about the different core dimensions. So we all know that life could be so challenging, especially right now for all of us in the midst of this pandemic. We've all gone through various traumas on top of our own personal life experiences. So really cultivating practices that support these different elements of health really just help support us move through life with a bit more grace and a bit more ease. So mental wellness, what are your perspectives like? How do you talk to yourself? Do you identify as being positive, or do you tend to resort to negative thinking? What are your goals? What's your personal satisfaction look like? Spiritually, do you feel connected to your soul's purpose? Do you feel like you have a good relationship with your intuition? What's your conscience like? Emotional health and healing. I love that they put releasing the past, but I would also say, understanding the past and developing a relationship to the past so that it can inform your present and your future. I love that they put forgiveness here. I don't know if you've ever had that experience of, just being so angry or so sad or so hurt and actually feeling that manifest in your body, right? That connection between mind, body, spirit. So how can forgiveness play a role in that? I think that's so beautiful. Catharsis, so transformation, release, rebirth, renewal. Do you feel connected to any of that? If so, let me know. And then, of course, physical wellness. So what foods are you giving your body? Are you paying attention to your body's cues? Are you just kind of barely making it, doing the bare minimum, or are you treating your body like a temple? What does mindful movement look like for you? Do you prioritize exercise, and stretching? And I love that they included a healthy environment here, because we could take that so many different ways, but do you feel safe and nurtured in your environment? Is it a place of, peace, or is it a place that brings on more stress for you? So all of these kind of expand the way that we think about health and healing. So I wanted to ground all of that in naturopathic medicine. As you know by now, I'm a naturopathic doctor. If you don't know what that is, that's okay. I didn't know either until I discovered it. So naturopathic doctors go to a 4-year naturopathic medical program where we do all the standard sciences like anatomy, biochemistry, etc. And what really differentiates us from our conventional colleagues is our focus on more holistic modalities. So lifestyle counseling, nutrition, herbal medicine, for some people, acupuncture, chiropractic alignment, etc. And so many people don't know that there are actually principles which guide and ground the practice of naturopathic medicine. So I just wanted to share that with you today. So first and foremost, the job of a healer is to not do any harm. This goes back to ancient Greece. At the end of the day, we want to care for our patients and do more good than harm always. Identify and treat the cause. I think this is something really special about naturopathic medicine. It's not about these sort of band-aid solutions or just helping people find symptom relief. it's also about really treating the underlying root cause of what is bothering you and causing your health issues. And then treat the whole person. This goes back to my first little tidbit about the word holistic and how I think it should probably be spelled with the WH, because it's all about treating the wholeness of a person. It's not just about your symptoms. It's not just about a quick fix. It's about taking you and your needs and your lifestyle and your history and your goals into consideration. Then there's the healing power of nature. And this could be as literal as, spending time in nature and connecting with the elements for your health and healing, or a bit more abstract about, how you use plants and natural elements, directly day by day, mostly through ingestion. What's your relationship to nature for your healing? The next one is one that I personally love and feel really connected to, hence today's event. So physician as teacher. The job of a physician, yes, is to heal you and support you, but it's also our job to teach you, just like you teach us. So I thought this was a really powerful thing to talk about. And then lastly, prevention. My dad, who was a physician, would always say to me, prevention is better than cure. And it's something that I think we as a society are starting to really understand now. Let's not wait for things to go too far. Let's not wait too late. Let's have our first and foremost interventions be about prevention, not only cure. Just like there are principles of naturopathic medicine, there's actually a therapeutic order of naturopathic medicine. And this is actually what inspired me when I was coming up with the workshop content. The title of this is, creating foundations for health. And you could see on this pyramid that the first pillar in the therapeutic order of naturopathic medicine is about establishing the foundations for optimum health. What are you eating? Are you drinking enough water? How satisfied do you feel with your life? What's your connection to community like, etc.? What's your self-talk like? This is the foundation upon which we build on further steps. So the other steps, I'm just going to kind of go through them quickly, are stimulate self-healing, support and restore weakened systems, address physical alignment, natural symptom relief, which I think is probably the most fun for people. And again, that's going to be our focus in the next workshop with DIY herbal remedies. Then we go up to synthetic symptom relief, and then we top it off with high force interventions. So this is the therapeutic order. So I wanted to, expand upon everything that I've shared so far with these holistic health contemplations, now that we're getting a better sense of what holistic actually means. These are the questions that I'm constantly asking my patients and that are constantly kind of running in my head as I refine and expand my own understanding of healing. So do you move your body intentionally? Do you make time to connect with nature? Are you attuned to your emotions? How loud is your inner critic versus your inner champion? How satisfied are you with your life? What makes your heart smile? What is your sleep like? Do you drink enough water? Do you prioritize your nutrition? Do you prioritize me time? How connected do you feel to yourself, to your culture, and to your community? What does financial health look like for you? How do you take care of your mental health? Do you have safe spaces where you can be yourself? How resilient do you feel in the face of life's challenges? Are you living your truth? What does self-care mean to you? Do you feel rooted in your identity? Do you feel supported as you move through life? And how excited are you about life? Feel free to answer any of those questions in the comments in order to facilitate a sense of community. And if that feels a little too much too soon, you can just type out which questions stood out the most to you and which questions you'd like to explore further. Okay. So now we're going to start with whole person nutrition and digestion. Let me give you a heads up now. This is not going to be your standard lecture on what you should eat and when and how. That is not the vibe of today's workshop. I'm just going to provide an overview and some suggestions for how to think about food and feeding your body. And I'm going to follow up each segment with practical tips and actionable tools that you could use to support these specific systems. So let's dive into nutrition and digestion. So I really wanted to anchor this conversation about food and diet with mindfulness. And this is probably really different from what you're used to. Again, I'm not going to give you a plate with, diagrams of what to eat and when and how and why. I want to anchor this with, the emotional and mental component of food and diet to kind of go against diet culture for a second. So I'm curious, how often do you actually think about how food makes you feel? When you're eating your food, do you actually savor the taste of each bite? Are you present to the moment, or do you feel like you're rushing and trying to get as much nutrition in as possible without even being really present to yourself, to your plate, to your environment, and maybe to the people around you? Is food more like, something you feel like you just have to do, or do you feel like you really enjoy it? Do you cook for yourself, or do you eat out more? What's your relationship to food? How judgmental are you with yourself based off of your food choices? And how do those feelings impact your self-image, and your self-esteem? These are all questions that I'd love you all to think about. And again, it's probably new for many of you when thinking about food and diet, but I think it's absolutely critical to bring that mindfulness experience even into our food. I want to introduce you to this paradigm. And if you are already familiar with it, welcome back. Here's a little refresher. But this is a paradigm that really changed my life when I was in naturopathic medical school. And it is called intuitive eating. And it's broken up into 10 main tenets. And I found that this paradigm is extremely helpful for most people, particularly people who have food sensitivities or food allergies, or maybe folks who have had a history of disordered eating. Intuitive eating is kind of a gentle response to all of that. So I'm going to read through all of these tenets and then share a little bit more about them with you. So the first is about rejecting the diet mentality. How many of you have been dieting your whole life for whatever reason? And how has that dieting made you feel? What has that done, to your self-esteem? How has that impacted how you actually view yourself and view food? 2 is honoring your hunger, and that includes paying attention to your hunger signals and eating when you're hungry, and also honoring your fullness, which we'll talk about, in a little bit. I'm curious if you're the type of person who, when you're going through your day, especially if you're super busy, you just completely ignore your hunger signals. And then you find yourself super hungry at the end of the day and end up just like eating so much. I know so many people who do this, and it is normalized in our culture, especially in the hustle and bustle of New York. But I would challenge you to really honor your hunger because that is your body speaking to you. Number 3 is about making peace with food. Especially if you are somebody who has dieted a lot, or if you've had an eating disorder, food could be really emotionally charged, especially in a negative way. So part of intuitive eating is about making peace with food. Number 4, kind of related to the diet mentality, is challenging the food police. And just so you know, that includes you too. You don't have to police yourself over food, over eating. Eating is so interesting because it's this behavior, it's this need that is vital to our body, but it's also so socially, emotionally, mentally, and culturally charged. And I would just invite you to not judge yourself so much when it comes to what you eat, but instead to align your food choices with your goals and your body's needs. 5 is discovering the satisfaction factor. I absolutely love this one. Before I took a class on intuitive eating many years ago, I didn't really know the difference between satisfaction, which is more about, fullness, like physical fullness, and satiation, which is more about that enjoyment. Like, are you satisfied from that meal? Did it, satisfy your palate? Did it inspire you? What did it evoke in you? And I feel like this is intimately related to making peace with food. So discovering the satisfaction factor. 6, which I've already touched upon a little bit, is to feel your fullness and to honor your fullness. It's never a great idea to eat too little or to eat too much, but intuitive eating recommends that we eat to about 70% of our fullness, and we use that cue as a signal to maybe slow down or to stop eating. Number 7, cope with emotions with kindness. This also goes back to challenging the food police. Food should be an enjoyable and not stressful experience. And if any emotions come up for you with food, it's so important to handle yourself with compassion and kindness. Number 8 is respecting your body. I mentioned a little bit earlier how important it is to consider your body like a temple. It is the only vessel that we have in this lifetime. And so we honor ourselves by honoring our body. So that includes honoring our cues, loving ourselves for who we are, developing a good relationship with food, etc. Number 9 is about exercising and feeling the difference. I would probably reword this to be mindful movement. I think when you think of exercise, think about lifting weights and going for really intense runs, but it could be as simple as stretching, going out for daily walks, doing a little bit of yoga or Pilates. It can even be something that isn't super cardio intensive, like breath work. Breath work is a way to feel connected to your body. And then number 10, honor your health with gentle nutrition. I felt like this wording was so interesting, but so important. And, in general, you want to think about what you're eating and you want to eat foods that feel good. But the way I take it, especially as a naturopath, is to really pay attention to how foods make you feel and how they interact with your health goals and your maybe known food allergies or food sensitivities. For example, if you are gluten-free, you could honor your body by staying away from gluten, right? Every time that you choose to eat that bread or that cake, knowing that you have that sensitivity or that allergy, that's not quite honoring your body. So I love this idea of gentle nutrition. And like I tell my patients all the time, when all else fails, just try and eat all the colors of the rainbow, but naturally, not synthetically. So tons of fruits and veggies. So now I want to tie this all together with very practical real world tips now that we've gotten the theory kind of out of the way. So once again, thinking about food as an offering to the body because your body is your temple. Eat according to your personal goals. There is no right or wrong, only guidance. And what I want to say here is, there is no ideal diet. And a lot of times people come to me asking me what that is. And I always give them, my most honest answer. For some people, a vegan diet is what they need to feel good. For other people who have different goals, maybe a keto diet, is fantastic. Maybe a paleo diet is wonderful. Maybe if you have hypertension or cardiovascular concerns, a Mediterranean diet is for you. Maybe if you want to develop some discipline around food or you really want to focus on fat burning, maybe intermittent fasting is for you. Maybe you need to snack all day. Maybe you need to eat 3 meals a day. All of these diets and practices are neither right or wrong. They're just practices. And it's up to us to really tune in to our needs and understand our bodies in order to make choices that would be best for us. Next is to pay attention to how the foods you eat make you feel. I feel like I've said this 3 times, but it's so important. If a certain food, causes heartburn, that's something to pay attention to, right? If a certain food makes you tired, that's really important. If a certain food makes you break out, that's important. Your body is constantly giving you signals. And then eat what makes you feel good, strong, and vital. This goes back to just really paying attention to how certain foods make you feel. A general framework, keeping in mind what I just said about there not being any right or wrong, universally. You want to prioritize fruits, veggies, and grains if your body can tolerate grains. You want to lean onto lean proteins or plant-based proteins, if that's how you eat. Healthy fats and tons of water. I can't tell you how many people tell me that they have a trouble drinking water, and it is so important. And then if you haven't heard this before, let me be the one to tell you there's nothing wrong with treating yourself. Moderation is key. Anything goes. It's just about balance. The next tip is to eat as many home-cooked meals as possible. And this is for so many reasons, but namely, what goes into your food. So depending on your health goals, that might be especially important for you. And there's also something really special about using your own two hands to make your own food and your own medicine, which again, we will talk about in a workshop too. So that'll be fun. Once again, avoid food allergies and food sensitivities. And while we're at it, implement protocols that could heal your gut. As a naturopathic doctor, this is something that I do all the time. There are tons of herbs and supplements that could really help to heal your gut. And then general eating tips, mindfulness tips. Chew your food very slowly to aid in your digestion. A lot of people don't know that digestion actually starts in your mouth. Most of us think about it as something that takes place in our stomach, in our gut, but no, it starts in our mouth. When we mechanically break down the food, and the enzymes in our saliva start the process for us. So if you're somebody who just kind of swallows food, that could wreak havoc in your digestion. So just think about that. Once again, eat when you're feeling calm and relaxed. I know so many of us eat, during commute or while we're doing chores or while we're doing a million things at one time, or we're talking on the phone. It's just so important for your nervous system, for your parasympathetic nervous system in particular, which is all about rest and digest, to eat when you're feeling calm and relaxed and present. Next tip is to avoid lying down after eating. This is really important for everyone, but especially if you're somebody who has heartburn or GERD or even an ulcer. Try not to lie down after eating. You want to wait about 2 hours. And then be mindful with substance consumption and eating to suppress your emotional experience. And so what I often ask people is, what are you hungry for? Especially if you find yourself eating after your body has given you fullness cues. What are you searching for? All things to think about. So I hope that gives you a general understanding of nutrition, or at least my approach to nutrition. Next up, we're going to talk about sleep. I don't know how your sleep has been throughout the pandemic, but so many people have suffered with sleep, as have I in the very beginning of the pandemic. Sleep is such an important time. It's when our bodies process the day, detox our systems and form memories and integrate information. So when we don't get good sleep, we are setting ourselves up for this really awful domino effect of poor sleep the next night, low energy throughout the day, and for some people, a crabby mood. So in naturopathic medicine, we talk about sleep hygiene. I thought this phrase was so weird when I first heard about it. I'm curious if you want to leave a comment in the comment section. Have you ever heard about sleep hygiene? And as I go through all of these tips, I'm curious, which ones have you tried and which ones have worked for you? But sleep hygiene is basically a constellation of activities or behaviors that you could incorporate into your whole day to help facilitate a deeper and more rejuvenating and restful night's sleep. So I want to start actually at the bottom of this graphic with understanding chronic health issues, because this goes back to one of the principles of naturopathic medicine that I talked about at the very beginning. So understanding your chronic health issues is representative of treating the root cause. Poor sleep isn't an easy fix for everybody. It's not as simple as take melatonin, which is everybody's go-to, or, take this or do that. Sometimes you have poor sleep because of mental health issues, namely anxiety or depression. It could be hyperthyroid. It could be lung conditions such as asthma or sleep apnea and a whole constellation of other issues. So important to understand what's really going on with your sleep. I guess I'll keep going this way. The next tip is to keep cool. So studies show that lowering the body's temperature at night by keeping your environment quite cool helps to facilitate sleep. Right now, the recommended number is at about 70 degrees. And I'm sure it's plus or minus, a couple points, but keeping the body cool signals to the body that it's time to sleep. And then reducing long daytime naps. I have to admit, I was kind of satisfied when I saw this one because I've always been a terrible napper. I'm curious if you want to drop in the chats whether you are a napper. While napping feels good in the moment, what it does is it actually takes out energy for sleep that you would be using later on in the day. So it's better if you can to kind of tire yourself out so that at night when you need to rest, you rest. Now, of course, if you're super tired or, maybe you're sick, napping is totally fine. But if you're somebody who takes a nap every single day and your sleep is really poor, it could be as simple as a fix as that, as reducing your daytime naps. Quit drinking after dinner. This is a physical one, when you drink late at night, that means that you're more likely to use the bathroom in the middle of the night. And for some people, myself included, that could disrupt your sleep for the rest of the night. So just a little tip there. The next tip is to get moving. And I want to be really specific here. I don't recommend moving a few hours before bed. So like an 8 p.m., dance class might not be the best fit if your goal is to be sound asleep by 9 or 10, because you'll have all of those endorphins and adrenaline running and your body is still cooling down. So if you can, try and have your movement a little bit earlier in the day. So really important note there. Next tip is to dim the lights at night. This is so key because I'm sure you've heard of something called the circadian rhythm. So that's the body's natural response to the cycles of day and night in our environment. And so when you dim the lights at night, that signals to your body, all right, it's time to secrete those hormones, namely melatonin. That signal to our body, it is sleep time. So super, super important. This also includes the blue light that comes from technology. So from your phones, from your computers, from your TV. If you came to the last Queens Public Library workshop in February, I talked a lot about blue light exposure, and it is so hard to not use your gadgets at night. They're such a great form of, escapism or connection or humor, whatever it is, but the blue light really signals to our bodies to stay up. And that's not what we want. You can, of course, counteract this with blue light glasses. I actually have mine right here at my desk. But no amount of glasses use could counteract the actual use of technology. So be mindful about that. And then the next tip is to skip caffeine. I want to make a really important cultural note here because in some cultures, it is actually completely normal to have a cup of coffee or some sort of caffeine after dinner. So if this applies to you and that works for your body, you're still able to sleep, then you could go ahead and ignore this tip. It's just so important to honor people's culture. But for many people, especially those of us who didn't grow up drinking caffeine after dinner, this is such a huge tip, and it actually makes a really, really big difference. In fact, in naturopathic medical school, we were told to never drink caffeine after around 2 p.m. because even drinking caffeine after 2 p.m. could kind of mess up your body's sleep signals. So something to consider. So here are some more tips. Some of them overlap with the last slide, but I love this first tip of setting a schedule. A lot of people don't realize that our bodies are basically like robots. They're like machines. They could get used to almost anything, and they really rely on cycles and rhythm. And so setting a schedule will support your body in finding whatever rhythm you may like. So if it's a goal of yours, for example, to be asleep every single day at 10 p.m., you could actually cultivate rituals, especially nighttime rituals, to make it more possible to fall asleep at that time. And then as you keep repeating it, your body will eventually get used to it. So super important. Number 2, I'm going to skip because I talked about it already, but I love number 3 about spending time in natural light. In the last slide, I talked about the importance of dimming the lights as a cue, but spending time in natural light and actually attuning to the natural rhythms, of the environment is super, super important, because all of that supports your circadian rhythm. And then number 5, what do I want to say here? I already talked about caffeine, but I love that this slide includes nicotine and alcohol, which could also make you a little bit too stimulated at night. And the alcohol one is so awkward because a lot of us drink alcohol at night. Like I always tell people, if it works for you, hasn't caused any issues, then do you. But if it is causing issues, or you're curious about trying different things to support with sleep, then it wouldn't hurt to try limiting or avoiding alcohol at night. Love number 6, relax. Definitely easier said than done, but I take this as creating nighttime rituals to support you with sleep. And we'll talk about that more in the next slide. So that could be journaling, meditation, listening to music, quality time with your partner or with your families, etc. And then 7, the one I love, regulating your bedroom temperature, which we talked about. So here are some practical tips, putting it all together. So you want to avoid eating at least 2 hours before bed, just because this makes your body spend so much energy on digesting food as opposed to supporting you and getting sleep. Once again, for the people in the back, no screen time at least 2 hours before bed. And then in the last slide, I talked about the evening routine tips. And I mentioned journaling and meditation, but here are some more recommendations. So aromatherapy is fantastic. This could be as simple as a candle. I have a candle right here on my desk. It could be using a diffuser with essential oils, and it could be taking a bath if you have access to a bathtub. Reading is so underrated, but reading provides as much escapism as watching TV does, but without the overexposure to blue light. And then you could incorporate some herbal medicine in your nighttime routine, and we will talk about this in workshop 2 with the recipes. So some of my favorites are lavender, chamomile, lemon balm, and skullcap. Out of all of these, I'm curious if you've ever tried any. You could drop a comment if you have tried them. Let me know which one. I think chamomile is the classic one. It's your double whammy herb in that it helps support your digestion. So that's great after dinner. And it helps to relieve stress and induce sleepiness. So I would try that. Next tip is stronger work-life boundaries. If you came to our February workshop, I talked a ton about this. I think work from home in particular has really tested our boundaries around when our workday stops and our personal time begins. And I think it's just so important for the body, for the mind, for the spirit, to really have that boundary. So something to consider. And then remembering the importance of a good night's sleep. It's about energy and rest, of course, but it's also about detoxification, cognition, memory formation, and information retention and integration. Additional sleep tips. So the nighttime bath I just mentioned, but I specifically want to give a shout out to lavender Epsom salt. I don't know if you've ever tried this before, but it smells so good. Not only does Epsom salt really relax your muscles and kind of get you in the mood for sleep, but the lavender is also a form of aromatherapy. And so you'll notice that I have lavender as a tea, and that's because lavender could be used internally and externally for healing. So in terms of what to eat, again, I'm not the food police. You do what works for you, but these are the tips that work for most people in my experience. So in acupuncture and Chinese medicine, we talk about nourishing the spleen with warm, comforting, and nourishing foods. For a lot of cultures, including one of my cultures, I'm half Haitian, half Ghanaian, by the way, eating oatmeal or porridge or soup at night is actually really common. And having your bigger dinner, like meal happens earlier in the day. So eating a light meal that's warm and nourishing and comforting makes it easier for your body to digest that food before bed. And so it has more energy to focus on sleep. And then if that's not your vibe, that's okay. You could focus on protein, whole grains, and healthy fats. And then reconsider the following foods at night, because these are all foods that have been shown to keep you up. So caffeine, I've talked about a ton already, soda as well, chocolate, processed sugars, spicy foods, alcohol, onions, rich and heavy sauces, and then of course, any and all food allergies, because when you eat something that you're allergic to, your body secretes histamine to counteract that. So I know that reconsidering these foods might be hard because these are the fun ones, but you could give it a go and see how that helps you. The last topic before the Q&A is about immune support and detoxification. So many of us have been focusing on immune support for the past, my goodness, 2+ years. And we all know why that is. And although things are, continuing to shift and evolve, as they will for some time, I think prioritizing immunity is still super important. So it's something that we shouldn't forget about. And then I decided to include detox because I'm constantly asked about how to detox. And I'll tell you what I tell everybody, which is that your body is really amazing at detoxifying itself through the major organs of excretion, which include, your skin, your liver, your lungs, your kidneys, etc. But there are practices that you could incorporate to support detoxification. So I'm going to start off with 2 very classic naturopathic tips that I love. One is a bit more time intensive and one is a bit maybe intimidating. So let's see how you feel about it. The first one is dry brushing. Again, this is a very classic naturopathic modality. You will need a dry skin brush, which isn't very expensive at all. You could get it for under $10 online. And the purpose of dry brushing is essentially to stimulate the lymphatic system and to improve circulation. I have some additional benefits on the right. So detox, of course, pain relief. It's been shown to support cardiovascular health by reducing blood pressure. And of course, immune support. And so what you would do is basically follow this infographic. If you want to get through it really quickly, it could take 10 minutes. But if you want to be a bit slower and more intentional with it, it could certainly take longer. So I usually recommend this for about 1 time per week, maybe up to 3 times, depending on your specific health picture and your health needs. But you would follow these arrows going upwards everywhere except for around the neck and clavicle. And then if possible, you could do your back or maybe get someone to do it for you. So again, very, very classic naturopathic protocol. I'm curious if you want to drop a comment in the comment box. Have you ever tried dry brushing? And if not, would you ever try dry brushing? The next tip, this is the one that I said may or may not be intimidating for you, depends on your vibe, but this is the contrast shower. I included this one because I actually talked about this with a patient of mine recently. This person was asking for different everyday immune tips that they could incorporate in addition to an herbal medicine protocol, and I recommended this to them, and they were like, oh, this sounds pretty cool. So I thought, let me include this in today. So this is the contrast shower, which includes cycles of warm or hot water and cold water. And the benefits, as you can see, include detoxification and immune support, stress relief, improved circulation, pain relief, reduced blood pressure. And I would also include a sense of vitality. So not necessarily the vitality you feel after having a ton of caffeine, but more like this feeling of being refreshed. And I think a part of it has to do with the shock to the system. But basically, you would bathe for about 3 minutes in hot water, and then you would follow with about 1 minute of cold water. And then you would do this for 3 cycles. I did want to make a note here, just being, environmentally conscious. Even though this is the classic way to do it, I think the two most important things are, of course, time, so the duration that you do this, and the ratio. And if I had to pick one or the other, I would pick the ratio over time. So you could easily, adjust this to fit your needs and your desires. So maybe instead of 3 minutes, you could chop it down to 1. Instead of 1 minute, you could chop it down to 20 seconds and you'll still get, a similar effect, but it feels really good. You could take my word for it. So I'd love to know in the comments, would you ever try contrast showers? And if you ever have tried it, how did it make you feel after? So putting it all together, immunity and detox tips. So once again, prevention being better than cure. So, immune support is going to look really specific to your own health picture, your health goals, your health needs. But in general, these are some tips that everybody could follow safely. So proper hygiene. I'm not sure how things are in your part of the world, whether masks are still needed, but I think that we've all learned throughout the past 2+ years that there are ways that we could protect ourselves and other people, including masks, and also washing your hands properly and regularly. That is so incredible for prevention. And then another tip, which I feel like people are really starting to pick up on, is sneezing or coughing into your elbow as opposed to your hands. And I think you get it. You get why. And here are some specific supplement and herb suggestions that you could explore. I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but a little bit of a disclaimer. It never hurts to talk to your own healthcare provider before trying any of these recommendations to be on the safe side. But once again, these are all extremely safe and easy. So echinacea is a beautiful and classic immune herb that you could incorporate. Elderberry is a recipe for an elderberry syrup, which is absolutely delicious. So that's a wonderful thing to take daily. ACEs and zinc. ACEs stand for vitamins A, C, E. S is selenium, I believe, and then zinc, which are all immune supportive. Vitamin D, that's something that we often don't think about for immune support, but it is. And then vitamin C is the classic that I think we all reached for a lot throughout these past 2 years. So yes, you could get vitamin C via supplementation, but there are also foods that you could incorporate that are really rich in vitamin C. So here are just a few. So citrus, so that's lemon, orange, grapefruit, etc. Berries, which are also rich in other antioxidants. Kiwis, a lot of people don't know, are high in vitamin C, and peppers. And then it's so important to heal your gut. I don't know if you've heard of something called the gut microbiome, but it is a collection of organisms, so bacteria, fungi, parasites, etc., that help to defend your body against pathogens, so bad bacteria, we call it, but it includes more than bacteria. And by keeping your microbiome balanced, you're actually supporting your immune system. So probiotic and fermented foods are easy ways that you could do that. So these are foods and beverages like kombucha, sauerkraut, kefir, yogurt, miso, pickles, and more. And then lastly, there's always ginger and garlic. Ginger is pretty intense, but if you could tolerate it, you can make a ginger tea, or you could take capsules, or you could cook with ginger, of course. And with garlic, I don't know if I'd recommend a tea, but you could definitely cook with garlic, and all of that is immune supportive. Now for detox, you could implement some of the rituals that I shared before. So as a reminder, that was the contrast shower and the dry brushing. And I also wanted to include sauna therapy. Sauna kind of takes it to the next level. So if you are able to, you could always go to a spa, use a dry sauna or a wet sauna, excuse me, or a hot water soak and cold water soak if you want to take the contrast shower to the next level and actually put your whole body in hot and cold water. It takes some bravery, but it feels good and it's worth it. Next, you want to eat plenty of fruits and veggies for fiber. Stay hydrated, water, water, water. And then I wanted to incorporate some liver supportive foods and teas. I already shared with you the major organs of detoxification, which namely include the liver. It's a big one of many. And these are the foods that your liver loves. So artichoke, dark leafy greens like kale, spinach, Swiss chard, etc. You could read the rest. And then cruciferous vegetables. Eves, this is a shout out to you because we were talking about what's the deal with broccoli. So these are sulfur-rich brassica vegetables that essentially support the liver in doing its job properly. This is important for detox, but it's also important for hormonal balance. And then lastly, the teas. So dandelion root and burdock root, which you'll also see above in the foods, and nettles, which is a classic spring tonic, milk thistle, and then turmeric, green tea, which we all know and love, and yellow dock. So these are all suggestions for immune support and detox. So that is all the workshop content for today. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I really hope that you found today's information useful and valuable and immediately actionable, because these are all tips that you could incorporate into your day starting today. So now we're going to move over to the Q&A in case there are any questions. I have my information up here in case you would like to connect with me. That is my website where you could learn a little bit more about me and my work. That is my email in case you want to drop me a line or ask any questions, or maybe send a note of gratitude or share something that really stood out with you from today. And then at the very bottom, I have my social media handle. So everything is at Dr. Naika. Let's go ahead and see what the comments are like.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Naika. Every time I hear you speak, I'm always taking lots of notes and like trying things like the next day, that night. So thank you. Some of you might remember seeing Dr. Naika during Black History Month, Black Health and Wellness. And we are so honored to have her back with us again. She'll be with us for today, May 18th, and the next time, June 1st, and then June 15th. So we get her in 3 parts. And so I hope you guys have enjoyed it. One person here says that they've done contrast showers when she's had muscle injuries, and she thinks that it helped the healing.
Totally. Thank you for sharing that, Tammy. That's really cool for me to hear. Naturopathic medicine in action. I too have used contrast showers for injuries, for pain, and it's just so amazing at helping the body move through all of that inflammation, which is causing the pain. So super cool to hear that worked for you.
Yeah, I've heard about it too, mostly with athletes and performers.
Mm-hmm.
You always see Lady Gaga get into the ice after a performance. But I've never heard of that dry brushing.
Yeah.
That's something. I wonder if other people have heard about it.
Yeah, it's a good one, especially if you want your skin to look more radiant as well. It has that detoxifying effect that affects the skin. So it's good stuff.
What kind of brush would be good? You said just like a regular.
Yeah, it's a specific brush called a dry bristle brush, and you can get it pretty much at any bath shop or online as well. Yeah. All right, friends. If that's it for questions and comments, I think we're good till next time.
Yes. Please join us June 1st, Wednesday, June 1st at 12 noon, and we will hear from Dr. Naika again.
Awesome.
Thanks, Linda.
Hi, Linda. Thank you for your comment. And as a reminder, everyone, at the next workshop, so that's in 2 weeks on June 1st, it's going to be a workshop on DIY herbal remedies for head to toe healing, inside out healing. It's going to be really fun. And I know that you're going to love those recipes. So hopefully I'll get to see you all there.
Great. Can't wait. Thanks again for joining, and check out the Queens Public Library website for other events. We actually have a yoga class, a virtual yoga class on Saturdays at 12 noon. So thank you. Thank you for coming, and see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.